Way Down by Nick Hornby, and I titled my can talk A Long Way Down, A Longer Way Back Up because it follows 4 people who all on the same night plan to kill themselves, but they end up not. We'll get that in a minute. Ooh, that was supposed to be on my mind. But so the book is about 4 people, all of extremely different backgrounds. One of them, a 40-year-old man named Martin, who was a breakfast time, like Good Morning America type host, but he had an affair with, or he slept with a 16-year-old and got fired, got divorced, can't see his children anymore, really went downhill after that, and got really depressed, obviously. And then the next person is Maureen, who's a middle-aged woman, really lonely, no husband, but she has a 30-ish-year-old son who has cerebral palsy, so her entire life is taking care of her son. And then we have JJ, who's American, but living in London, and he's a pizza delivery boy, kind of emo, punky, just hates his life. And then Jess is roughly our age, maybe a few years older, whose father's a politician who doesn't really pay attention to her. She doesn't really feel wanted by anyone and kind of does her own thing. And so on New Year's Eve, they all end up meeting at on this roof, which is the most popular spot on the most popular night to kill themselves. And Martin's standing up on the ledge of the roof, kind of looking down, and then Maureen comes and is like, hey, can I borrow your ladder when you're done? And he's like, why would you interrupt me while I'm about to jump off a building? Kind of gets pissed, and he climbs down. And then when they're talking, Jess comes in, running, trying to nosedive off the building, and they catch her, pin her down, get her to calm down. And then JJ comes up and is watching everything, and they all start talking, kind of introduce themselves, and then Martin's like, okay, I'm leaving, I don't want to do this anymore, angry that his suicide was interrupted. And so he's driving home thinking, I can't even, he already, his life, he has nothing in his life, and he thinks he can't even, kill himself correctly. So he's kind of beating himself up for that. And then on his drive home, he sees Maureen standing on a bus stop, and it's pouring rain. He's like, okay, come on, get in my car, I'll take you home. Then he sees Jess, walking down the center of a highway, and he's like, okay, get this crazy girl in my car. And then JJ can't get the best of it to start, so they're all back in the same car, and he's thinking how did I get connected with these people again? And they drop Jess off at this party, then they drop her off, drive away, and then Maureen's like, we shouldn't leave this suicidal, impulsive teenager at this party. So they went back to find her, searching all over this club, and it's kind of funny because it's this homely little old lady, a dad, and then this American pizza guy looking for this girl, and can't find her, and then they finally see her, and she's overdosed, because it's been they couldn't find her for a few hours. So they take her to the hospital, all of them wait for her to wake up, and then she's fine, but they are all sitting in the hospital talking about how all of their suicides failed so miserably, and they're talking, okay, since we did this on the most popular day of the year to kill ourselves, what's the next most popular day? And then they're Valentine's Day. So they decide, which is in 6 weeks. So they decide let's wait 6 weeks, then we'll reevaluate if we want to kill ourselves, which is a lot of the irony of the book, is that their next suicide attempt was what was driving them to keep living, because they all wanted to die, but they were going to hold out the 6 weeks just to see if they would change their minds, which none of them thought they would. Martin didn't even want to do this. He didn't want to hold out with these people. So they all finally agree. They make a pact, and they split their ways. And then finally, the next morning, they read the paper, and it's just politician's daughter attempts suicide with Martin Sheen, who's the ex TV anchor. And so they become a huge, it's a huge story, because it's this formerly famous rapist, which they call him, just sad, and a politician's daughter, and so they are all getting attacked with this media attention, and they meet up again and decide let's make this our story, let's not let this get controlled by the media. So they go on, do interviews, and they kind of even though it's a very serious issue that they all tried to kill themselves, they make it a humor, a funny thing. Jess tells the reporter, yeah, I was standing on the ledge, but an angel that looked like Matt Damon like came down and knelt down and like grabbed me off the roof, and they kind of like mess with the media, like, because they didn't want it to be like a pity thing about them. They wanted to like have their own power, and so they just do that. And then they go on trips together. They went to Mexico to kind of like get away from everything, and that's when they decide like, hey, like maybe like these people came into my life for a reason. Like maybe I should not kill myself. And so by the time like Valentine's Day comes around, they don't even realize it. Like they weren't really counting down the days. Like they realize that they like these people so much, and like these people came into their lives for a reason. So they look in like the calendar, and it's like February 14th, and none of them want to kill themselves, and which is good. And that's the point that I think that Hornby was making in this book, is that even though like you think that your life is going in this one direction, like you're the only person that can control your like fate, and that's what they did. They took their depression, they didn't let the media or they didn't let anyone else like tell them what to do. Like they changed the circle of their life, and that's why I called mine A Long Way Down, A Longer Way Back Up, because the book is written in a memoir style. Like one chapter is Martin, one chapter is Maureen, one chapter is Jess, one chapter is JJ, and like keeps going on. And it shows like the way that they go back up from what people would think like no one would recover from, like this guy having fame, family, good job, and then going to jail, sleeping with a child. Like they think that no one would ever recover from that, and he shows like you can from anything. And I think that that's what the point of the book is, that no matter like what you're going through, that you can, like anyone can recover from most any situation. And that's when they're going to Mexico. That's when they're in Mexico and realize that they like their lives now. And I would not put this book in any curriculum for a high school, because it's a really easy, for AP English 4, it's like a really easy book to read, and there's only so much that you can like stretch with this book. Like it's not really a deep book, so that's why I wouldn't put it with a curriculum.